Scene 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
It is exactly 5:30.
Oh my God.
You should slice it.
You want to get some coffee or something, John, before you say? Oh, I'm okay. Thank you. Just gonna be here tonight?
Who?
Julius. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, Oscar's the only one who is.
Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. What better way to spend the festive season, right? Than at our meeting. So anyway, this meeting is called to order. And items 102 are our standing ground rules and our board vision. And 103, Chancellor, do you have a recommendation regarding the agenda?
Recommend as published.
Thank you. We have one change to the agenda, came to our attention after it was initially posted. And we want to wish Dr. Julius Silkanuk, Moore Park College president, happy birthday. Coming up on 12/15. Very good.
Woohoo.
Yes. So,
Condolences. I don't know what do we get.
okay. There was no closed session this evening, so nothing to report. That takes us to 301, Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Hoffman's.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That takes us to public comments. And as posted on the online agenda and included in the printed agenda are three written comments, all regarding remote work. And we have two speakers tonight that wish to speak, and they are in this order: Teresa Bonham, followed by Nathan Cole.
And I want to let you know, we are all very excited. We know our faculty are excited, and we hope the compressed calendar can create lots of wonderful opportunities for our students. And we intend to come and give you regular comments to let you know where we are in the negotiation. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan?
Hello. Hi, I'm Nathan Cole and I teach theater at Ventura College. And I am the other co-chief negotiator for the compressed calendar. And I want to reiterate the things that Teresa said. We're super excited about the opportunities that this is going to present our students and also the opportunities that it's going to present our members. We are currently trying to arrange a meeting with Laura Barossa and the team to go over the district's initial proposal. And we're hoping that that will happen sometime either right before the holiday or right when we return. Both sides are having a little difficulty getting everybody together. I know that we are currently waiting on the mock-ups that will show the different what the different units will look like, 3 units, 4 units, 5 units, and lab classes in a daily schedule. And we're going to need that in order to really kind of present our side. And so we're waiting to get that. And once we get that, I think we're going to be in really good shape. So we're looking forward to this and got to get used to us because you're going to be seeing us a lot more often. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 4.01. And so for everyone's benefit, if you didn't already know, this is the board's annual reorganization meeting. And so at this moment, we are without a chair and vice chair, and the chancellor will have the gavel.
Okay, I'm going to read a little script here for everybody's understanding about the process that we'll go through this evening. According to VCCCD Board Policy 2305, annual organizational meeting, the purpose of the annual organizational meeting is to elect a chair, vice chair, and secretary, adopt an annual meeting calendar, appoint trustees to serve on board committees, and conduct any other business required by law or determined by the board. I will now review the process that we will take to elect the new board chair. In the absence of a board chair, I will call for nominations for the board chair. I'll recognize the trustee making a nomination and ask for the nomination of board chair. The trustee making the motion will state, I would like to nominate name for chair. I will then ask if the nominee accepts the nomination. If the nominee gives their consent, I will announce so named has been nominated for the position of board chair. I will then ask if there are any other nominations. I will continue in the same manner until there are no other nominations. If there's only one nomination, I will declare the nominations closed. I will then ask if there's a second on the motion to nominate so named as the new board chair. I will then ask if there's any discussion. Following discussion, if any, I will then call for a roll call vote. Motion carries or fails. If there are multiple nominations, I'll take a vote on each nomination in the order they are made. After tallying the yeses and nos, I will announce the nominee who received the majority of the votes. I will then announce the name who's received the majority of the votes and ask, may I have a motion and a second to accept the results of the vote? And then we'll have discussion and vote. So I now call for nominations for board chair.
I would like to nominate Vice Chair Gabriela Torres for chair.
Vice Chair Torres, do you accept the nomination?
I accept the nomination.
Are there any other nominations?
Yes, Chancellor. I nominate Bernardo Perez to remain as our chair.
Trustee Perez, do you accept the nomination?
I do. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, as I stated earlier, if there are multiple nominations, I'll take a vote on each nomination in the order they are made. After tallying the yeses and the nos, I'll announce the nominee who received the majority of the votes. But going back into the process for the nomination for trustee Torres, is there a second for that motion? I believe you can, yes. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Okay, and now we will take a roll call vote on, oh, I'm sorry, is there any discussion? Oh, trustee Chancellor.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is your 6th year
Yes.
on the board? Yeah, and I was thinking about this in regards to this last year as your role as vice chair, and you've had numerous times to lead our meetings and done a wonderful job. And I also thought of it through the lens, and I know we represent, of course, the whole county and our 3 colleges. But it's been a long time since your district has had that voice as chair. And I have full faith that you're able to represent your district and the entire district in your leadership role. And on a personal note, I find one of your greatest strengths in leading. And when you have the opportunity to lead, I'm always impressed, and I have full support as your role as chair. So, thank you.
Additional discussion?
May I speak?
You, of course.
I think as we are moving forward within our colleges and our districts, I am interested in understanding and knowing. I believe with the 6 years, being able to be in the district, being able to go through different negotiations, being able to be in different committees, being able to have the opportunity at times to lead if I need to, in the absence of our chair. I'm interested in knowing the reasons as to why perhaps there would be a need to say we need to have our trustee become chair once again for another year, but it's not another year because they've been chair before. And so I'm interested in knowing from the board who's here, I haven't had the opportunity to be chair, and I'm not going to fight over it because my interest is really to move forward the district, the college. When we look into, we talk so much about diversity, equity, inclusion, access, all of these words, justice. But then as a board, what does it mean in terms of myself? One, I'm mentioning the skills, but also when we look at giving someone the opportunity to lead. And to me, and I have to say it, sometimes wonder, what is it? Is it that you don't have faith in me to be able to do this after 6 years? What specifically is it? And this is to the board, and I'm interested because there's so many different components that it always comes to this. At least that's how it's been for the last couple of times. And if it's not one thing, it's another thing. And so there are reasons. And I'm interested in knowing, because we talk a big talk when we're talking to our colleges and our communities about what we believe, being inclusive, everybody coming together, believing. But if we don't have that here within the board, I am surprised. I am surprised. And I know that, Trustee Mantu's been vice chair before. Now I've been vice chair. And so typically you have your vice chair and becomes the chair, and we talk about those opportunities, there's this growth. And so I will say that I am interested in knowing more about my board members, my colleagues, in terms of their lack of belief in me to be able to lead, because that is how I'm taking it. I believe it's important to know. And does it have an impact on our board? It does for me. But I'll be respectful that we still move forward with the business, but I'm curious if it's something that can be discussed, and maybe it's not, but Perhaps it is. I mean, we're going to make a vote.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments?
Yeah, I'd be happy to comment. I don't see this as a zero-sum game. This isn't a winners and losers type of situation. It has really less to do with your leadership abilities than what I see as a very pivotal year for our district and this board, as we're looking forward to a bond measure and all the other items that are in the pipeline, all the things that we heard about during public comments and that are on our agenda. And from my standpoint, I believe that status quo for us at this juncture would be important. I think Bernardo has proven his leadership, and I think that you'll have that opportunity to prove that leadership in that seat. From my standpoint, after 1 year, from my standpoint, I believe that Bernardo's the right person to lead us moving into this coming year. So it really has less to do with your qualifications, which I respect, and I know they're there, and I know your abilities are there. It has to do where we are as a board and where the district is. And I think what Bernardo's background and experience brings to that seat during these times. So that's some feedback, and I'd be happy to talk to you personally about any other feedback that you might want.
Is there any other discussion? Huh?
Like you mentioned, if this is your first year and you haven't been here these other years, but I can tell you, if it's not one thing, it's another. It's another. And the only reason Bernardo, I mean, there's many reasons, but he has the experience is because he has been given that opportunity. And so when we look at people, when are they going to be able to have that opportunity? So somebody can say, you've done this before, you know the role. Well, you need to be given the role. And over the last 6 years, that role has always been denied. And so when we start looking into, it'd be great. It'd be great to be able to have somebody to be able to lead and to do this. And it's a big year, but the way I see the board, Bernardo doesn't make decisions, it's the board. Maybe he's the chair, whoever the chair is someone to communicate with, perhaps make decisions. There's an emergency, there's a crisis, something needs to take place. But the chair is not the board. Like, we are the board and we make decisions as the 5 of us. And we come together and we're elected. And so to me, is if there's anything that needs to be done, if there's another trustee that needs to go with the chancellor because they're going to talk about negotiations, or not negotiations, but business, whatever the case may be, are you able to go? And as the chair, you can, there is 5 skills for 5 different talents. And I see the board chair as the one who's there to bring together the board, who's able to be inclusive, and you delegate the task. And so to me, I understand the decisions that is going to take place. I will say that it definitely does cause, it gives me a lot to think about. I don't want to say rupture, but it definitely everything that we've been working towards. Sometimes decisions do make an impact, and this one's a huge one because we talk about that inclusivity piece, and it's not lack of experience, because being on the board, there's committees, there's different roles, there's policy, knowing how to work within policy, within budget. I think if we look at my voting record and some of the major things, we can see where I've stood, understanding and moving forward with the district. So now it's a year where it's a bond. And so next year will be something else, because we're always dealing with some things that are very important. So to me, as we're promoting this diversity, equity, inclusion, and we're talking about giving spaces to individuals, it's interesting how we choose to not give a space to an individual who represents, different minority, different intersectionality. And I'm not going to use that, but knowingly still hasn't been given that space after 6 years. And I'm interested and curious to see how that's going to look like in the future. But I'm not going to belabor this. It's going to be based on a vote, and we're going to go based on the majority, and whoever has the most votes is going to go. I was hoping this would have been a vote that we're all in support, because during this year, it makes it a difference, but it might not necessarily be that way.
Any additional comments? Okay, then we will move on to a vote on this nomination. And all those in favor in supporting Trustee Torres, Board Chair, please signal by saying aye. The roll calls on the last part of it, but we can do roll call either way. So let's do a roll call vote.
Trustee Torres, yes.
Yes.
Aye.
No.
Yes.
Okay. It's a little out of my comfort zone here, but I believe that is an advisory vote. So this, that motion then fails for lack of a majority. We'll move on to the second nomination. And that was for Trustee Perez. Need a second for that nomination. And discussion, discussion.
Yes, I would first like to thank Trustee Liptel for the nomination. I appreciate your words of endorsement. I want to, on my own behalf, add that serving as chair takes a lot more than just being able to manage a meeting. There's a lot of duties required of all of us, but some additional duties required of a board chair. And I've had the opportunity to work with each of you in past committees and in various roles. And I have made myself always available, sometimes at a moment's notice, to participate on the board's behalf, on the college's behalf, and on the district's behalf. And you know, I agree with you, Trustee Lichtel. We have some big things in front of us that we've worked on for a long, long time. And I welcome the opportunity, if elected, to continue in a leadership position to carry those initiatives forward. So thank you.
Are there other comments or discussion?
Yes, I would like to echo the sentiments of Trustee Lichtel regarding how critical the upcoming year is and the need for continuity at this particular time. That's taking nothing away from Trustee Torres, who I've come to know and respect better because of our joint service on one of the subcommittees of this district. And I will be the first one in line to continue that continuity of Trustee Torres as our vice chair so that we can have the full year of continuity and full learning.
Other comments, discussion? Okay, we have a nomination. It's been seconded. I'll now call again for a roll call vote for Trustee Perez to serve as board chair.
Aye.
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 Yes.
Okay, and as I read earlier in the script, I'm going to do this one more time. We had two nominees. Trustee Perez received the majority of the votes. And so I now need a motion and a second to accept the results of the vote?
Chancellor, I make a motion that we accept the results of the vote.
Any discussion? Okay, and I'll again call for a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Now happily return the gavel to the board chair.
You did well reading from that script.
Thank you.
Chancellor. And trustee Torres, I want to thank you for your vote.
I love, I love this vote.
Okay. I'll take that too. Sure. Now it's time to vote for vice chair and call upon trustee Mantu. I thought I heard you say indicate.
Chair Perez?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Lichtenstein.
I nominate trustee Torres to continue as our vice chair.
And I don't have your script, but are there any other nominations? If none, then is there a second to that nomination? Second. Okay. Trustee Mantu seconded the motion made by trustee Lichtel for trustee Torres as vice chair. And I forgot to ask trustee Torres, do you accept the nomination? Okay, thank you. And Michelle, if you'll continue with the roll call vote then. I called for any other nominations, but there are none, right? Okay. Then
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. 4.03, action to elect clerk of the board. Let me scroll down. In the past, isn't this, or the chancellor assumes that role? Is that,
No.
well,
Secretary.
is that the next item?
Yes. The clerk would be Michelle. but
Oh,
it needs to
okay.
Be nominated and approved by the board.
Okay, new procedure. Is there,
I'll make a motion to nominate Michelle as our clerk.
and is there a second?
There is a second, I will second.
Okay,
And by way of discussion, thank you, Michelle, for all that you do, and thank you for accepting the nomination.
okay. Any other comments?
No, you're the most qualified.
Yeah. Okay, with that, does this require a roll? It does, Michelle? Okay, then if you'll call the roll.
Aye.
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 Okay, congratulations, Michelle. 4.04, action to appoint secretary to the Board of Trustees.
Chair Perez, I'll
Trustee Lichter.
nominate our chancellor, Rick McClellan, to be our secretary of the board.
I will second that appointment.
And you have no real say in the matter either, Chancellor.
I'm good.
Okay. But we'll go through the exercise. Michelle?
Aye.
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 Okay, item 405 is the projected 2024 calendar. You've had a chance to review it. Does any date leap out at any one of you as being problematic? And if not, past practices, we can adopt the calendar tonight and subject to necessary changes as the year unfolds.
Yeah, my apologies, Chair Perez. I do have a problem with April 9th. And I would not want that to compromise the work or the activities of the rest of my fellow trustees. But I will be on the tail end of observing a solar eclipse at that time in another part of the continent.
Okay,
Chair Perez?
trustee Lichtel.
Yeah, I have a conflict on February the 13th that may or may not work out, but I thought I'd give you the heads up. If there's another trustee that has an issue with that date, we could consider moving it to the 20th. If not, then I'll try to work through my issue.
Okay. Trustee Chancellor.
I also have a conflict with the 9th, so perhaps
April 9th.
April 9th, yeah, perhaps April 16th would work for my colleagues.
Well, why don't we, well, we can plug that date in now, but then staff will look at how that impacts the flow of the meetings leading up to the board meeting. So you got that, Michelle, change 4/9 to 4/16? Tentatively, okay. We're leaving that as is at the moment.
I know that in March and April, we run into spring breaks. Trustee Chancellor, I'm not sure if that's part of the conflict that you may have,
It is not.
because I was just looking at mine, to see if that was a match, so.
Okay. So is there a motion to adopt the calendar as amended and noted? Trustee Torres moves.
Second.
Trustee Mantooth seconds. Student trustee?
Aye.
And the board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Okay, 406. This is the board committees. And if you've had time to think about it, any strong feelings about the present committee structure, membership staying as is or moving, or you can, go ahead, trustee Chancellor.
I would prefer to be on the admin services.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes. Trustee Lichtel?
Yeah, I served on the PASS committee this past year, in my first year in this role, and was also going to request to be moved to the Administrative Services Committee, but I certainly would defer to either you or Trustee Chancellor
Okay,
as needed. I'm happy to stay on the PASS committee, but I thought the experience of being on that other committee would be beneficial as well.
okay,
Chair Perez, I will go wherever I'm called upon.
okay. Thank you. Same as you, or you want? Okay. All right, so then between now and the next meeting, I'll make a fine. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay, thank you. Well, we're not quite done, but we'll formalize these appointments. 4.07, action for certification of school board representatives to vote in election for members of the county committee on school district organization. And who's our current rep? Who's that?
Typically, doesn't the chair serve in the capacity?
No, is that, do you want to, okay. Is anybody interested in this? I mean, I can serve if trustee Lipton.
Yeah, I read through the requirements and so forth. It sounds like it's a meeting, as far
Yeah.
as I could tell.
Mhm.
I'd be happy to help.
That's all I
Trustee
needed to hear.
Chancellor would like to stay
That's
on.
all I needed
I'm
to-
fine with that as
Would-
well.
No, trustee Chancellor, is unable to continue.
Oh, okay.
So I will move. Rare for me to make a motion, but trustee Lichtel serve in this role. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, student trustee. How do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you. Okay. Takes us to 501, acknowledgement of new employees. And the companion piece is 502, recognition of inter-county community college district retirees. We have those in front of us, and I look forward to in the various reports that are forthcoming, mention of those individuals. And 503, looking around the room, aside from everyone present, I don't see any other special people in the room. 601, classified Senate President's consultation. Alex, you want to begin, please?
Thank you and good evening to the board and Chancellor McLennan. I have 3 items here for you for consultation. Those items are items 18.01 through 18.03, recommend action to approve fall 2023 graduates and certificates at each of our colleges. Thank you.
All right. Who wants to be next?
Good evening. Is that on?
Yes.
Good evening and happy holidays, everybody. My name is Rebecca Stroud. I am Moore Park College's Director of Fundraising and Events. I'm stepping in for Linda Resendez tonight, and we have no items for consultation.
Thank you. Sergio?
Good evening, Chancellor, trustees, and student trustee Figueroa, Sergio Arana, Oxnard College Classified Senate President. I just want to welcome our new employees, Cassidy Cropple Gonzalez, evening and weekend activities attendant, and Leslie Almaraz Martinez, mental health therapist. Thank you.
Thank you. April?
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Student Trustee, and Chancellor. Today, we just have 4.01, acknowledging of new employees. I'd like to welcome Adriana Fernandez, Student Success Support Specialist 2, and Emmanuel Herrera, Custodian at Ventura College. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 602, Academic Senate President's Consultation. Who are you looking at, Matthew? Okay.
Good evening, Chancellor, trustees, student trustee, guests. So briefly, 5.01, acknowledgement of new employees. I'm happy to welcome back Mike Miller in the position of counselor, serving our veteran students. 5.03, very happy birthday week to President Sokanu, Sagittarius. 12.02, I want to express support for the action to approve Oxnard College curriculum. 13.01, action to approve and ratify personnel. Just want to welcome the following faculty who will begin in January. We're excited to have them join our campus. So they are Robert Bollinger in art, Lorena Gautier in Spanish, Celia Rodriguez in child development and early childhood education. And then 18.01 to 18.03, I want to express joyous support for the action to approve the fall 23 many graduates and certificates. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex?
All right, good evening. Alex Klesnick, Ventura College Academic Senate. And for 5.02, just wanted to recognize we have retirement Francine Bucher, who is an ESL faculty member since 1995 at VC. For 12.03, just wanted to recommend approval of Ventura College curriculum. and for 18.03 to in support of our VC graduates. Thank you.
All right, and now Matthew.
Good evening, trustees, student trustee, chancellor, colleagues, and guests. For 4.01, we welcome our 3 part-time anthropology faculty, Alexandra Goya, Caleb Wild, and Alex Williams. We also welcome our new temporary counselor, Lucine Kashkarian. We also welcome Jordan Kurkaturo in music and our counselor, Cheyenne Diaz-Brown. Regarding 12.01, I spoke to various upper division courses in the past. On an even more exciting note, you will find a new program titled Bachelor of Science in Biomanufacturing. Moorpark College is excited to offer this needed program in our biotech-rich community. Furthermore, it provides an affordable and local program for students who might not otherwise be able to pursue higher education beyond the associate's level. Simultaneously serving the needs of our students and community with this new program encapsulates the values of the California Community College system. Regarding 18.01, after a semester of exciting work, Moorpark College faculty are happy to see the long list of students receiving certificates and associate's degrees. We're grateful to have been a part of this important chapter of their lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to item 7.01, and student trustee, will you introduce speakers?
Oxnard College, Kay Palacio. Good evening, Kay Palacio, OCASG. It's a short report for me. Our board recently attended the SSCCC Advocacy Academy along with VC and MC, and it was a great bonding experience for all of us. We also had a well-attended finals distress event this last week, and we are starting to plan events and other stuff for next semester. Thank you. Ventura College, Markup.
Good evening, board. Currently, ASVC also enjoyed a very great conference with Oxnard and Moorpark at the SSCCC Advocacy Academy. Currently, ASVC is looking to replace 2 directors on the board as they have resigned, unfortunately, due to limitations. We are also exploring issues pertaining to the Student Health Center in regards to the current provider shortage and the limited availability for students receiving healthcare on campus, which has also impacted our enrollment for CNA and RN programs. Currently, ASVC is also exploring 2 resolutions as of now, food equity and increased ADTs for STEM majors and students. We're also looking to collaborate with the Academic Senate in regards to AP 7120 A through E, and we'll be setting up a meeting shortly in January. We also are experiencing some issues with student clubs and financing that has impacted current programming, which would have benefited students. And then other than that, we are focusing on improving our curriculum, and we will be meeting with the vice president soon in January to discuss explorative measures for chemistry, physics, and 9 other degrees, as well as working with our students to help implement new programs as well. And we are also in support of 12.03, 13.02, 14.01, and 18.03. Thank you.
Moorpark College, Sean Rumskull.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Roskopf. I'm the ASMC president for this year. Unfortunately, our director of student advocacy, Judah Robinson, couldn't make it tonight. So I'll be relaying the Moorpark College student report at this time. So first, I'd like to say we're having our team building activity during the winter break. We're going to take some time to work on our goals and objectives for next semester. We were also able to attend the SSCCC Advocacy Academy event in Riverside and have some very productive conversations with our counterparts at Oxnard College and Ventura College. I'd also like to extend a quick thank you to Dr. Morgan and Linda Arsendes for working with us to maintain a student voice on the classified prioritization process. Really upholding the board resolution number 2022-02. And nothing else to report. Thank you.
Thank you. 702, student trustee, your report.
I had the wonderful time and experience joining our associate student body at the SSCCC Advocacy Academy. It was a wonderful event. And I also will be working more on my staff committee with the Associate Student Government. And we'll be working more on projects and resolutions to present to the board in our next semester.
Thank you. 703, AFT report. Do we have anyone here for that specific report? If not, 704, SEIU report.
No SEIU report, except of course to say happy holidays and many blessings to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. 705, classified Senate report.
Thank you. First off, I'd just like to congratulate Mr. John Cooney on his promotion to Senior Data Analyst here at the District Administrative Center. And finally, as you know, the holidays is upon us, and is usually a joyous time for many. However, that's not always the case for some folks. I know some students out there, they may not be in the same situation and so forth. So around this time, the Classified Senate at the DAC works with the college's basic needs centers to be able to give back to students and assure that there's additional resources for those students during the holidays in need. So we were able to donate some goods that will be delivering to each of the college's basic need pantries tomorrow, in fact. So I did wanted to share that with you. And with that, I hope you all have a happy holidays and thank you for your time.
Thanks for that work.
Forgive me if I speak out of order. Back to item 5.01, I apologize. We have two promotions, Cheyenne Diaz-Brown as counselor and coordinator at Moore Park College, Hugo Puentes Galvez as grounds athletic field specialist. And we're also welcoming Trisha Jackman as instructional lab tech to our zoo. On to happier things, Moore Park, we just finished our classified Senate, just finished our biggest fundraiser of the year. And we wanted to thank Chancellor McLennan and Trustee Perez for coming to the event. It was very successful and it helped us raise money for one of the few scholarships that is available to all students on campus. Thank you.
Evening again. Oxnard Classified Senate held our December Classified Senate meeting earlier today. We had professors Dr. Maldonado and Dr. Benavides present some of the work done by our HSI task force on a proposed mission and vision statement. We reviewed our final classified resource request rankings and provided our committee updates. We enjoyed a white elephant silly sock exchange, so that was some fun. And we also asked that participants brought an extra pair or pack of socks to donate to basic needs. There was also several Grinch sightings around campus as our holiday secret condor gift exchange gifts were delivered to participants. We look forward to a holiday reception tomorrow and the revealing of our Condor of the Month award for our campus recipient. And yeah, nothing else besides happy holidays.
Thank you. So Ventura College classified report is short. First off, I want to just say thank you to our exec team for always collaborating with us on our annual holiday gift basket event. We had several divisions and staff support this event, which is our fundraiser also for our Classified Senate Scholarship. We were able to raise over $1,000, which supports our annual giving. So thank you, Dr. Hoffman, for your last minute creativity on the poinsettias. That actually was a hit. We were able to raffle poinsettias at the end. So thanks to Dr. Hoffman. And the event was such a fun event. it was like, I think, bigger than the past years. So it was great just seeing everybody have fun and just build community. On December 1st, the Senate was able to submit our classified program review, classified priority request. We had our meeting on November 30th, and we were able to review all those requests to our constituents on campus. And lastly, this is the finals week. Students are either excited to be done with finals and getting ready for the holidays, and some are still studying hard every day. So other than that, I wish all of you some happy holiday break.
Thank you. 7:06 Academic Senate Report. Matthew, you're still looking down the road there.
Dolores Ortiz, Oxnard College Academic Senate President. I'm happy to share that the OC Academic Senate completed our faculty resource request ranking last month, and grateful to all who helped move this timeline forward to complete this process several months earlier than has been the usual case. The OC Academic Senate had an amazing turnout for our faculty-led project to support the Rainbow Cafe in collaboration with OC ASG. In total, we had about 30 students, several faculty members, a mental health therapist, and special thank you to our VP of Student Services, Leah Alarcon, for also attending. So we gave a strong support on opening night for VC's production, amazing production of the Laramie Project 10 years later. It was moving, educational, entertaining, just kind of all around a great night, and so glad to be in community with our sister college. At our November meeting, we honored 2 faculty retirees. They're not in this official list for this board meeting tonight, but want to recognize them again. Dr. Linda Kamaila and Robert Chaparro for their service to the district and the community. We sent 2 faculty members to the ASCCC Fall Plenary. So definitely looking forward to spring plenary. And we were also happy to support students via a basic needs drive in the Senate, and also a student who was helping with a community organized toy drive to support the Southwinds neighborhood in Oxnard. In addition to our college's efforts to provide toys and gifts for children of students and from the Child Development Center. And even though we had lots of fun and celebrating the retirees and the holidays and the toy drive and the basic needs drive, sharing a meal, we were actually also able to pass proposed changes to our campus mission and vision statements based on the extensive research conducted by faculty members, Drs. Jose Maldonado and Selena Benavides Black, who started that work as part of the HSI task force. So that's exciting news at Oxnard College. And we also actually passed one of the APs, 7120E, and I look forward to continuing that work. We've had a work group going with the 3 of us academic senate presidents. So we're hopeful for January to review the other APs on recruitment and hiring. And I want to give a special congratulations to Professor of English, Teresa Bonham, for being selected by ASG as the Condor of the Month. Thank you.
Good evening again. So for Ventura College, we also had representatives at the ASCCC Fall Plenary. That was myself, and it was great to meet the 2 Oxnard College faculty and spend some time with Matthew. It was a very informative plenary. We got to hear from the State Chancellor on the Vision 2030, which was very informative. And there's lots of discussion of the Common Course numbering, AB 1111, and the Cal GETC AB 928. So looking forward to spring plenary. We had our last VC Academic Senate meeting last week. We did also finish up our faculty staffing priorities committee rankings, which we submitted to the executive team. We also had a discussion of the AP 7120 A through E. Also, we had a presentation on the DE recertification and certification efforts. And finally, we have a work group that's working on AP 7211 on equivalency and the district-wide equivalency committee. So it's a little bit of what's happening on our campus. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to follow up on the AP 7120 A through E's. We worked closely with Director Ingley on these. And a lot of the work was getting us caught up on last year's developments. And it just reminded me of the value of institutional memory in terms of multi-year projects. And so I just wanted to say Director Ingley's memory on this issue is greatly appreciated.
Thank you for that. 707, President's Reports. Dr. Hoffman's?
And trustees, and happy holidays. So there are a few fun things that have been going on at Ventura College as we're wrapping up our semester. One of the things, we're always very competitive in our athletics. So our football program was 4th in the state and second in the Southern California region. We didn't advance past that, but that is really a strong record. Our volleyball team made the Elite 8 for the first time in 20 years, which is fabulous. They were so excited, and they were beat out by Feather River College, but the girls played their heart out. So we were able to go and visit them and watch them play. So it was so fun. We had for the first time, a basic needs giving tree, and it was so touching. The students, had messages on the tree. I'd like to give something for my mom or for my little brother. Rarely did they ask for gifts for themselves. And it was so touching. It's the first time we ever done that. And I hope we continue to do it. And the employees of Ventura College stepped up. My individual wanted some skincare products. So I was like, yes, I could do that. So that revealed whoever my person is. It's like a secret Santa. I don't know who it is, but it was really fun. The holiday party was great. I did not win the Socktacular, although I did, strut my stuff down our little red carpet. But we had lots of fun and lots of good socks and decorations, and it's just fun had by all. And I'm so glad to hear that we were able to raise a large sum of money for our classified senate and their scholarships. Last night, we had our nursing pinning ceremony, which is always near and dear to my heart. And we were very fortunate. Trustee Chancellor spoke to the audience, and Trustee Perez was also there, Chair Perez. And it's such a moving experience. One of our foundation members has in perpetuity paid for the nursing pins for all of our students forever. And the reason why that happened is early in my tenure at Ventura College, I noticed that the nursing students, when they would walk across the stage, were getting pinned with like Mickey Mouse pins or, flag or something like that. And I asked our nursing director, Sandy Melton, I said, why aren't they wearing Ventura College pins? Well, they couldn't afford them. And so this is huge. Now they can wear Ventura College pins and wear them with pride. And I'm so excited for our 32 graduates. We also on Friday have our Vet Tech completion ceremony, which has been a wonderful program and another program that serves our community when there's a real need for veterinary technicians. We submitted our Aspen prize application. As you know, all 3 colleges were nominated for the top 150, which I think is just absolutely amazing and testimony for how wonderful our district is and how great our colleges are. So, and last but not least, I'm excited for you to approve our fall graduates. That's why we're here. So happy holidays, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, trustees, chancellor, student trustee, Luis Gonzalez, Vice President of Academic Affairs and Student Learning at Oxnard College, sitting in for Dr. Cobian. A couple of updates for you all. On November 30th, Oxnard College hosted a town hall for our employees and students to provide updates on the college's progress. Topics included enrollment growth, facility improvements, and new programs at the college. among other things. We also had fresh churros and hot chocolate, which was a hit. On Saturday, December 2nd, Oxnard College participated in the City of Oxnard's annual Christmas Parade, showcasing the vibrant spirit of our institution. Over 50 Oxnard College students and staff marched in the parade, accompanied by 2 engines from our esteemed public safety program. Yesterday, we had the privilege of having Chancellor McClendon join us for Coffee with the Chancellor. Thank you, Chancellor, for joining us. It was well attended by faculty, staff, and students, and the Chancellor welcomed questions from our campus community and provided us with various district and college updates. So thank you for joining us. Tomorrow, we will be hosting the President's End of Fall Holiday Reception on campus to celebrate the hard work and dedication of our employees as we approach the end of the semester and upcoming winter break. This Friday, December 15th, we will be celebrating the Oxnard College Fire Academy Battalion 60 graduation at our Performing Arts building. We want to congratulate the cadets for this hard-earned accomplishment. And finally, as Dolores mentioned, we have 2 tenured faculty members retiring at the end of the semester that we would like to recognize and thank for their years of service, dedication to our students, to student success, and for their years of support and collegiality. So congratulations to Dr. Linda Kamaila and Robert Chaparro for all their years of service. We wish them well and a well-deserved retirement. Thank you.
Good evening, trustees, chancellor, student trustee, and guests. First of all, I want to congratulate Moorpark College Fall 2023 graduates and acknowledge their diligence and their resilience, and wish them the very best as they move forward. Our Classified Senate Holiday Luncheon was a big success. Thank you, Chancellor McClellan and board chair Perez for joining us, and a big kudos to the planning team, Linda and Kim and Rebecca, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of names, but again, it's a sort of a celebration of our campus spirit. Some wonderful things happened at Moorpark College Foundation. Today, we received a check for $50,000 from Told Corporation, and that is in response to our Giving Tuesday appeal. And those resources will be split between our nursing, our biotech program, and we're very excited about that. Also, on Thursday, Takeda Pharmaceuticals will be presenting a check for $1,000 to our Radius Central, as well as hygiene products and other products that the various divisions at Takeda Pharmaceutical collected in support of our Basic Needs Center. Like our colleagues at Oxnard and Ventura, we submitted our Aspen application today. And again, I want to echo what Dr. Hoffman's mentioned in terms of just the incredible work that's going along in this district. And, you know, a very, very big thank you to our faculty, to our staff, to our administrators, particularly to our students, because the Aspen really recognizes the success of our students. Nursing pinning ceremony is on Friday at 3 p.m. And we look forward to that opportunity, not only to celebrate our nurses, but also to sort of welcome their families. One of the best things that happen on campus is our nursing pinning ceremony, when you hear families celebrating nurses, and in various cultures and various languages. It's an excellent opportunity. We have the Coffee with the Chancellor tomorrow at 10 a.m. and we look forward to his visiting with us. We also have tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. The State of the College address. We have about 65 people who have RSVP to attend that, and we're looking forward to sharing with folks what's happening at Moorpark College, and also being an opportunity to sort of reveal to the I guess our stakeholders the first stage of our facilities vision plan. Our Wild Lights Ocean Nights at the zoo continues through December 30th. And if you're looking for a holiday event to take your family to, please join us. It's an excellent opportunity as a campus community to support the zoo and the incredible animals in that space. Happy holidays to everyone, and looking forward to being back here and supporting our students next year.
Thank you. 708, Moorpark College Aspen report. Chancellor, I understand this will be deferred.
Yes, that'll be presented at the January board meeting.
Thank you. That brings us to 709, board committee reports. We've had copies of the minutes of the meetings. Who shared the administrative Services Committee. Last month.
So, Chair Perez, Trustee Torres and I have operated, as I believe, a
Right.
very successful tag team as co-chairs, and this past November 21st, I was it.
Okay.
The agenda did not have a lot of items, but we had a very informative and robust discussion about the actuarial study on retiree health benefits, which I believe is also going to be reprised here tonight to some extent, as well as an action item for addition of a library technician position at the Ventura College East Campus, both of which were blessed to move on to this body by the subcommittee.
Thank you.
And the minutes are included in the
Right.
agenda.
That takes us to the past committee report. And Trustee Chancellor Lichtel, who led that meeting?
I believe you did. Go ahead.
Yeah, Trustee Chancellor did.
Okay, minutes are there. One of the probably the two major items, which is AB 1705, 705. And you can see some of the data that is there. Is that coming to our board tonight?
Tonight.
Good, just making sure. So I'll won't go over, don't want to steal the show. So we'll make sure of that. And then the other item, which is also on our agenda tonight, was 5410 Associated Student Elections. And there were some questions that were captured there and some new language requests. So, and that's all we have, unless Trustee Lichtel, if you have any.
Yeah, I just want to take an opportunity to thank Dr. Herrera and her staff for really providing a great deal of data, very relevant data in a very effective manner. It was very much appreciated. And again, as the new person to the district, it gives me a great opportunity to learn more and more about the work that we do. So thank you for that.
Okay, and with my apologies to Trustee Lichtel, I neglected to ask if anyone had any consent items they wish to be pulled earlier. If 11.07, okay. And hearing no others, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar except for item 11.07? Okay, Trustee Torres moved and student trustee seconded. Student trustee
Aye.
and board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Not. Trustee Chancellor, 1107.
Thank you for that. I had a question in regards to the budget amendments, which was the third or second paragraph under analysis. In that paragraph, it says Oxnard College allocated $262,000 for scheduled maintenance and capital furniture and a planned use beginning fund balance of the unrestricted general fund infrastructure fund. So I was just hoping to get some explanation on what fund the resources started from and where they were going. And I think that'll help me. And here's why I'm asking the question. It'll help me understand the spreadsheet, maybe is a correct term, on the following page. So I'm having a hard time understanding the origination, where the funds start and where they go based on that documentation.
Chancellor. Go ahead.
Kathy?
Thank you, Chancellor. So I am looking here, I am not sure that I can answer on to where the information came from, the amounts, without getting back to, it is from the general fund unrestricted infrastructure. So on that schedule, if you can find it on there midway down, and it does show the fund that it's coming from. So that would be what we typically have referred to as Fund 113. That is our general fund unrestricted infrastructure fund. And that is the funds that Oxnard College is using for this. So if I can just take one quick moment to explain that we call these amendments. These are actual increases in the budget. So they started the year, Fund 113 will have money in reserves. And at the time they did the adoption budget in this case, and this is true for all of these items as amendments, is they perhaps didn't know or hadn't planned yet that they were going to spend those funds, and something came up through their planning process and they have now decided to spend it, but it had not been budgeted at the time of adoption. So what this amendment does is it takes it out of the reserves of 113 and makes it a budgeted item for them to spend. Did that help?
Yes, would it be, and here's where I was trying to, I couldn't find that $262,000 amount on the chart. Was it divided up? Is that why?
No, it's there. It's towards the,
Oh, there it is. Got
You-
it. Okay, that makes sense. So when it leaves 113, is it going into a separate account before it's actually allocated?
no, it is still in 113. What this does is take the funds from reserves in 113 that they had not budgeted at the time of adoption
Mhm.
and just moves it up into a budgeted line under expenditures. So
Okay.
the money and the expenditures is all in Fund 113.
Okay. And then just had one other question. In looking at this chart, I noticed under Oxnard College, there was a 22,000, 60,000 and 82,000 line item for foundation support. And the first two were supplies, materials, other outgo, and then revenue. Am I reading this right, that general fund unrestricted dollars are going to the foundation, or is it the other way around?
So the funds are all, so our general fund unrestricted designated is our Fund 114 that we talk about. And so what this is recording is that the foundation has given them $82,000 and they are planning on spending those $82,000 through supplies, materials, and other outgo, which means they're transferring it to something, but I'm not, I would have to get you that detail. But again, it's all within that Fund 114 and the account that they set up for that foundation support.
Once the funds reach our district from the foundation, which is a separately audited account, and it goes into our general fund, who then decides what supplies and what materials? Is it the college themselves? Is the collaboration between the foundation at Oxnard College and Oxnard College, or is?
So I can't obviously answer specifically for Oxnard College because I'm not familiar, but in general, when the foundations give the colleges funds, it is usually designated. I think it would be, I can't recall seeing when they have not designated it for something. So whether it's for a sports program or perhaps basic needs often gets donations, something like that. Now, I don't know that in general, they are so prescriptive as to then how they spend it, on what they spend it on. Usually the donation comes in and it is for, water polo and they can choose how to spend it, or it's for, the basic needs and then they can buy whatever supplies or use it however they need. So I'm not sure. There may on occasion be, the donation may be that prescriptive, but in general, the foundations give the money to the colleges. They do identify which program it's for, and then that's where it's recorded.
Are there ever circumstances where the college is supporting the foundations? Like, are the funds ever going in that direction, or is it only a foundation to the college?
Trustee Chancellor, I think your questions are straying from the agenda item and the answer that was given to your initial question. So if you have ancillary questions, I would suggest you take the opportunity to reach out outside of the meeting. And if your question has been answered, are you ready to move approval of this item? Thank you. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Student trustee seconds. Student trustee.
Aye.
Thank you. Board, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
No.
Oh, sorry. One opposed. Item 14, board policies, 1401, action to approve board policy 5410 regarding student elections. Chancellor.
Thank you, Chair Perez. I will turn this over to Dr. Herrera.
Was reviewed in our past committee on November 28th. And you can see in the public content notes that we added a link to the handbook, which is the VCCD Student Election Standard Operating Practices for associated students and the student trustee positions. And based on feedback from the two trustees at the past committee, we added colleges will actively focus on removing barriers as needed and appropriate. And we added that any student elected as a student trustee or an officer in the associated student shall meet any of the listed requirements as recommended by the CCLC template. And that was also a recommendation from one of our trustees during the meeting. It says that the vetting went through Moore Park College ASG. It's actually all three colleges vetted it. The handbook, and it was reformatted to make the language more student friendly. And so the new language that is provided in your agenda is in green font. And it was recommended by the PASS committee to move forward. In addition, at the PASS committee, there was a request to identify the number of students that actually voted, the ballots that were distributed, and what the rate of return was. And so you'll see that also on your agenda. And then we broke it out by elections by college. Any questions?
If the board doesn't mind, I'll defer to our student trustee to speak first if she cares to.
I would just like to say that the new timeline for the election is a huge improvement. I think students are going to have way more time to know more about associate student government and what it's about, and have a more concrete decision of whether to join or not, because it is a lot of work. I appreciate everything all of you are doing. Our presidents back there, you do a lot, and congratulations to all three of you. I think the new timeline is very, very well set, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Chancellor.
I'm trying to find that new language. I couldn't find it in the board policy. I may have.
It's in the first paragraph, last sentence, I believe.
Maybe the one in my packet. Okay, I'll check it out. Definitely trust you on that one. I noticed, does this board policy not have an AP?
This policy does have an AP.
It does.
Oh, wait.
At the bottom, it says no AP procedure is required, but I didn't.
Then there's no AP.
Okay,
We use
then-
the handbook.
Okay, so I'm trying to find the concerns that was brought up in the past committee was the numbers, which are last year was students voted 1.2% of our student population. And I definitely appreciate the line in removing obstacles and barriers. I'm just wondering, in absence of an AP, does this board policy capture ideas and concepts and straight language to improve that rate? And one of the things that was brought up in our past committee was, do students have the option of voting in person in a week window or in a 3-day window when they actually are on the ground and in attendance? And it sounds like they don't in the current, through the language of the current board policy. And without an AP, how do we capture that if in fact that is a concern by our student and our student government, and perhaps this board? I don't have the answer. I guess that's my question.
Okay.
Can I defer to the college presidents and specifically Dr. Luis Gonzalez, because I think one of his activity specialists are here, and I think she can answer that. I think he's going to call on Amparo. Okay.
Or to Amparo.
So thank you. That is a very valid question. It's been a concern of ours as student activity specialist for the past, since I came in this role a couple years ago. So what happened previously is the elections used to happen through the portal. So a student would log in, there's an automatic ballot there. Can you go ahead and vote? With the change of the portal, it apparently removed that option. And what was happening was emails were sent, which caused a drastic decline in the number of students who were voting. So prior to you actually bringing this up and pass, I've already been working with Dan Watkins on identifying another type of platform that can be integrated with our current portal to move away from the email system. So we actually have a meeting tomorrow to review that. On top of that, we as student activity specialists are going to be doing more as far as tabling and outreach and trying to get more students involved. Research shows most students who are involved in voting and even running usually are the ones already plugged in, right? So how do we reach the students who are not plugged in? Because there's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of opportunities for professional and leadership growth. So that is something that we are working on. And one of the things that you'll notice in the handbook that we've also changed is even the campaign period. Before, if a student decided on day one they were going to run, once they met the requirements and had their meeting, they could start campaigning. Whereas a student who maybe decided at the last minute they wanted to run, it's not necessarily an even playing field, right? So we've changed it so the campaign is a week and a half long. So we're hoping with all these different changes going on, that we'll have a lot more students involved in giving not only running for office, but in the elections themselves.
Okay. Trustee Metu.
Yes, I'd like to thank Trustee Chancellor for bringing our attention to that percentage of students that voted. My comment is, we're in the business of education. We're also in the business of the future. And the results, in terms of the number of students that voted, were either underwhelming, to say it nicely, or abysmal, to say it a little more honestly. And I would challenge our campuses and whatever procedures we have in place to do something about that. Because God help us if those people that then move out into the voting world and they're already there and of age to do so, what does that say about our democracy and their participation in it? Just had to give a little editorial there.
Chair Perez.
Right. Trustee Lichtel.
Yeah, I echo the words of Trustee Chancellor and Trustee Mantooth and wholeheartedly agree with his summation. I would like to say it looks like the elections will be in late March. So I would hope that we'll get the election results as soon as the election is completed. We'll be able to review, see if we had an impact on the 1 to 2% of the students that are voting and see if we get a significant bump. I mean, quite frankly, I'd be disappointed if it wasn't closer to, I don't want to put a number because no number is high enough, right? It is certainly one of the privileges and rights that we have in this country. And as a child of parents who fled communism, I value the voting process immensely. So anything we can do from the standpoint of motivating our students, making it easier for our students, giving them access, and as I think Trustee Mantu said so very well, it's our right, it's our privilege. Encourage them to do so. So thank you.
Trustee Chancellor.
It's great to hear from the board that there's consensus on this issue. But my concern is, does this policy capture that? I think there's a lot of hope, but is this policy all that different from the last time it was reviewed in, usually that's, I don't know, 5-6 years ago somewhere. I couldn't.
It was adopted in 06 and
Just reviewed last year.
February.
Yeah, this past year, this February.
So I guess if we're looking for big change, sometimes we keep the language of a board policy the same and we say, well, the AP will back that up, but there is no AP. So to me, our students in our district is really looking at this board policy to capture what we've just heard. And that is, we're looking for a huge increase. And does this board policy demonstrate or provide the language that we're going to see efforts? Some of them we've heard and we saw it in the voter handbook, but I don't think the language of the board policy is there. So there's a lot of hope, and I'm excited to see some hopefully increased numbers, but.
So I have a question. First of all, the board policy does refer to the handbook, which is essentially the AP. Amparo mentioned a meeting tomorrow with IT, Dan. Will the outcome of that meeting result in improved process or information to the students that would yield ideally a greater awareness and then potentially turnout, if you will? Is that the hope? Okay, so would the handbook then need to be, if we're going to approve this policy tonight and we're referencing the handbook, depending on the outcome of your meeting tomorrow, will the handbook need to be revised?
Know that the handbook needs to be revised at this time. I think that this is an iterative process that we're going to strive both from a technical perspective, and I think Amparo and the other student activity specialists are going to strive to get more student engagement and more students participating in the vote so we can see these numbers go up. But it's an iterative process. And I think, you know, this handbook will update the handbook based on some of the findings as we move forward with this process to codify that as we move forward to continue to increase. And I don't think this is, hey, we're going to jump this much. It's continual improvement, really.
And I think the operative language for me as I'm reading it again is in blue here on the draft policy. Colleges will actively focus on removing barriers as needed and appropriate. Or in an iterative fashion, maybe, if we want to add. But Amparo, did you want to add anything? Okay.
Chair.
So I think
Chair,
that does get to, I think, the consensus of the board. Trustee Chancellor.
Is there anything in the handbook or in this policy that prevents having a system in place where students can vote in person for a week period or something? I mean, I can't speak for our students, but if I were a student and I talk to a student campaigning and I meet them and I say, wow, this is who I want to represent me. Where can I vote? And I know that there's online options, but to me, there should be some modeling and what exists on our local, state, federal level, and that the student can vote in person.
Well, Chancellor, if you don't mind, I'll ask Vice Chancellor Herrera. You mentioned this went through the various student governments, and was that ever mentioned as a barrier or commented upon or asked for?
No, it wasn't requested to be in person, and it is in the handbook. It says voting shall be by electronic ballot.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Chair
Well,
Pres.
Trustee Lichtel.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything Trustee Chancellor is saying from the standpoint of needing some meat, rubber meeting the road, so to speak, and doing everything that we can. It sounds like we have meetings in place and we're trying to move forward. I think that hope is a wonderful sentiment. It's just not a great strategy, right? So we need to make sure that whatever the plan is to move this forward in a way that we can increase those numbers, not slightly, but significantly, that it's vetted. I think as a board, we want to be kept abreast, at least I do. I want to be kept abreast as to what happened during these meetings, whether that's in writing, a memo from the chancellor's office or from your office, Dr. Herrera, but I want to be kept abreast as to what's developed and what's going to be different, and to ensure that more of our students both have access and understand their, I'm going to say, responsibility in participating if they so choose. So just want to kind of reinforce what Trustee Chancellor said.
Trustee Mantooth.
Forgive me, but knowing that a number of students may not have the wherewithal for that electronic voting, I'm thinking of Trustee Chancellor's comment about in person. Should there not be some outlet or outlets at the campus that a student can access to cast their vote?
I believe they can go to the library to
Okay.
vote. and use the.
Then we need to
terminals.
punch that up with them so they know.
Can I?
Student
Mhm.
trustee.
I do believe having in-person voting can be important, but counting the in-person votes and making sure that the student didn't vote twice electronically and in person can be a lot of work for the Association of Student Governments, but they're gonna have to do the election ad hoc committee. So that's another thing that's gonna be on top of their heavy load. I've been there, I've seen them work, I understand. And also I do believe having the votes pop up every day on your screen, hey, have you vote, get ready to vote, is more effective than in person.
Okay.
So
Trustee
It's just
Figueroa, so what you're
thoughts.
saying is that if there was an in-person, I'm trying to understand logistically, if there was an in-person method, then students would not only present there, but then they would have to be ID'd and they'd have to
yeah,
present an ID and that kind of thing
it's a
for,
lot longer process than
could be a longer
on-
process.
online.
Okay.
Yes.
But we do have the electronic method when they go on their portal. And I know all of our students manage the portal because I know that's kind of the center of
Yeah.
their universe at college. And so maybe it's just making computers and technology available on campus in a kiosk throughout campus, maybe more than one. You know, it seems like it's not that of an important of an issue, but I think based on the sentiment of these three board members and what we've said and how important it is to us, I think it is really, really important that we do everything we can to increase the number. And not only that, just the awareness of our students, how important it is for them to participate in this process.
Chancellor?
I
I'm sorry, student trustee.
I do believe that colleges can help tremendously in posting flyers, advertising on social media, and much more. With they each have their own marketing team that can support the Associate Student Government and increase the awareness of the election happening. And I believe the new timeline will help tremendously in getting candidates, because that's also an issue, having students apply on time.
Thank you. Chancellor?
Amparo, I know you're just, you're one college, but do we have any knowledge of what the percentage was before the leaving the portal to the email? Was it significantly higher prior to that?
It was not super significantly higher, but it was over 1,000 for sure. I don't know the specific numbers, but
Okay.
it was in the thousands.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you. And I just wanted to add that in my role as a vice president for student services for many years, and in that whole side of the academic enterprise, that this is a perennial challenge, especially in a commuter institution, and you have people that are coming in and out and working, and I know that every effort is made to engage students to try to get them involved in this. And it's probably one of the greatest sources of frustration for the people who do that work. By hook or crook, how do we get them in? So I know the interest is there, and it sounds like some of the technical things that we're going to correct. And then again, I think you've all heard from the board, the interest in making sure that we do our best work is it's going to help us move this in more favorable numbers significantly.
So hearing that this is an evolving iterative process, is there consensus, willingness on the part of the board to adopt the policy as stated in front of us?
I move.
Student trustee moves approval, and trustee Lichtel seconds. Is there any further questions or discussion? If not, student trustee?
Aye.
Board, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for your work on this. And thank staff in advance for their continued work on this. No items under 15. Under 16, action to accept the GASB 7475 actuarial study of retiree health benefit liabilities as of June 30th, 2022. Chancellor?
Calling Vice Chancellor Bojorquez.
Thank you. Tonight we have a speaker that will be joining us remotely. I do want to, it was mentioned earlier that this item did go through the Administrative Services Committee with Trustee Torres and Trustee Mantooth, and they did get a more detailed explanation and have a longer conversation on this. Tonight, we are joined with Mr. Luis Murillo. He is with Total Compensation Systems. Their firm prepares our full valuation for our retiree liability. We're required to do that every 2 years, a full valuation. And in the off years, we have an updated report that is done. So Mr. Murillo is going to do a brief presentation and answer any questions that the board members have. So Luis, can you hear us, and can you speak so we can make sure we can hear you?
Yes, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, excellent, great, thank you. Well, good evening, trustees, Chancellor McLennan, and members of the public. So I'm here to present the results of the actual evaluation. And so some of the things that we'll be going over today is what are the benefits that you're providing your employees at retirement? What's the purpose of this valuation? And then just go over some of the results, and then what to look for the following year. And so in terms of in terms of the current benefits that you're offering your employees at retirement, you're offering medical, dental, and vision. Faculty employees that were hired but in order to receive the benefit, you must have been hired prior to July 1st, 2015 if you're faculty, and prior to July 1st, 2005, if you were in any other employee classification. In general, benefits are paid until age 65. However, there are some groups that receive lifetime benefits. Those faculty employees hired prior to July 1st, 2001, and those other employee groups that were hired prior to July 1st, 2000. In general, the district pays about 100% of the premium up to a cap. And then your dependents are covered. And so in order to get this benefit, your age plus your service have to be equal to or above a specific number. And so for faculty, classified, or supervisors, your age plus your service have to be at or above 75. That's 72 for confidential and management. And one thing to keep in mind, though, is that currently the district is transitioning to the CISC Health and moving out of CalPERS Health. And so some of the benefits may change due to that transition. And so for this valuation that was done as of June 30th, 2022. So we did the valuation as of 22, but it was used in your fiscal year 6/30/2023 financial statements. So as of the valuation date, there were 321 employees and 648 retirees. And so really the purpose of the valuation is twofold. Again, you're providing these retiree benefits to your employees, and so there is a cost for providing this benefit. And so the first goal is to estimate the cost of this benefit, but keep in mind that this is a moving target. We have to perform evaluation every 2 years based on when we collect new census information and premium rate information. So based on the that update, these numbers get updated. Then the other thing is there are requirements for providing this benefit under GASB as how to account for and disclose for this liability in your financial statements. And so the way we kind of come up with this estimate is we try to project when your employees are going to retire and when they're retired, what their benefit's going to be. And then we take all those future benefit payments and we discount them to today and we kind of estimate in today's dollars what the total liability is. So the first step is every year estimate the number of retirees and the number of pay-as-you-go costs or the actual retiree payments that you're supposed to make every year. And so down here, we're showing just the first 10 years. We project all future years, but here you just have the first 10. So for 23-24, you can see it's 9.2 million. And then by 2030-31, that number goes up to 10.3 million. So for the year 2030-31, that fiscal year, you're expected to pay about 10 million in retiree payments. Excuse me. So this is the second part, as I mentioned, is really coming up with the present value in today's dollars of that benefit. Then we take the present value, which is about 135.4 million, and we break it up into what's already been earned based on past service. And that's really the number that matters the most under GASB 75. And so that's the 130.3 million. Then what you are expected to earn in benefits over the coming year, which is about 900,000, and then in all future years. So really if you're looking at the bar chart at the bottom of this slide, really the number that matters, or the bar that matters, is the red part, and that's the liability. And then the green part is how much you have set aside in the trust for this benefit. And so when we look at how that liability has changed over the year, the last was June 30th, 2021 was the last measurement date. And so that was had a liability about 137.6 million. That changed to 130.3. That TOL stands for total OPEB liability. FNP is just a fiduciary net position. It's a fancy term for your market value of assets. And so that changed from 29 million to 23.3 million. So the unfunded amount, that's the number that matters under GASB, as well as your unfunded liability, your net OPEB liability, changed from 108.6 million to 107. We expected that number to actually decrease by 3.1 million, but it decreased a little bit less than we expected, primarily due to your assets earned less than expected, and there was a few changes in assumptions there. And in general, we expect volatility. And this number, again, it's a moving target, right? So our assumptions are not going to be exactly met. We're making estimates and projections, and what happens in 2 years might be slightly different than what we expect. So again, volatility is expected. And so looking ahead, as I mentioned, you are moving to the CISC. So if there are significant in that transition, if there are things that would change the number significantly, we would have to do another full valuation. But if it's not necessary, we would just take the numbers from this year and roll them forward to the following year. And so the other thing is, again, for the fiscal year 24, 23-24, your expected benefit payments for the year is about 9.2 million. Thank you. Any questions?
Just one quick question, Mr. Murillo.
Sure. Yeah.
In your conversations with staff as the transition in our medical benefits is occurring, have you talked about do you have any sense if there's going to be major changes or not that would affect the need for another valuation?
Yeah, we haven't been part of the process, so district management would be better at answering that question for you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Are there any other questions? And first of all, I want to thank the committee, because it looks like there was a great discussion and question at that time, the past committee. So does anybody have any questions? Okay. Sure.
Just in the Admin Services Committee, this was really the gist of our conversation. And so thank you to the staff, and also to, is it Mr. Murillo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if he's used
He's
to,
there. Yeah.
because we had so many questions, and you were able to so graciously answer everything we had and just give really specific details. And that was really appreciated. So I wanted to just highlight, because as I looked over it, I mean, everything was answered. So I just wanted to make sure that the rest of the board know how comprehensive they answered during the committee and how much it was appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Is there a second? Trustee Mantu seconds. And student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
The board, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Murillo, if you're still there.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. And There are no items under 17, but before we proceed, let's take about a quick 5-minute bio break. Thank you.
Oh, you are so lucky you kept that secret from me because like balloons fill the whole, I mean, something like.
Okay, if we could all please reconvene. Don't want to disrupt the flow that we had going here. All right, so. We are now on item 18, institutional effectiveness. And the chair would entertain a group motion, 1801, 02, and 03. Trustee Mantu.
With great pride and conviction, I would like to move approval of items 1801, 02, and 03 as a package.
Student
Second.
trustee, seconds. Okay. Any quick comments? Student trustee, you want to add anything before we call for the vote?
Congratulations to all the students.
All right. And thanks to everyone who had a hand in their success in getting to this point. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you. Item 1804. The past committee, IE report, chapter 2A, transfer level English and math completion, AB 1705/705, Chancellor.
Thank you, Chair Perez. So this is the data report that Trustee Lichtel referred to and was presented at the committee meeting. Dr. Herrera is going to give a high-level overview of the report. What our purpose is to give that information. You've all had a chance to look through the report. I hope you've had a chance to examine some of the data. But primarily, we'd like to answer any questions that you have and understand questions that you'd like us to further investigate. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Herrera.
Thank you. There were three things that came up at the past committee that was not included in the report that was requested. And so today's discussion will include those three elements. The first one had to do with comparing our performance with the state performance. So we have a state comparison. It's very difficult for us within the time frame to identify 3 to 4 colleges that were similar. So that we were not able to acquire at this particular time. The second thing was a request on dual enrollment and the number of students that are participating in dual enrollment and some questions around that. And then the third was asking about the delivery mode, online versus in-person versus hybrid. And so a slide has been included in that also. So I added, we did a presentation, which we normally don't do when we do our chapter reports, but because this is such intensity of data, I thought maybe it would help to have the visual. First, I wanted to just talk about specifically, so we can have a common understanding of what AB 705 versus AB 1705 and what the differences are. AB 705 was introduced in 2018, and it looked at the methods used to place students in math and English. And it asked to use specific factors like GPA, college transcripts, et cetera, rather than taking a test place. In addition, then in 2022, which is recently, AB 1705 came aboard, and what it did was ask for and allow for additional resources to support pathways and services to foster student success. So in its expansion of AB 705, we don't know the results of AB 1705 quite yet because it was just implemented. But next year we should have an idea whether or not the wraparound support services and the curriculum instructional changes that we're making will make an impact. Any questions on the differences? Okay. So how do we compare to statewide averages? Oh. Thank you. Sorry. How do we compare to statewide averages? Well, when we're looking at our math success rates, we're at 32% and the statewide average is 24%. So we're much better. English, we are at 48%, statewide average is 39%. And then for math and English completion within the first year, we're at 25% and the statewide average is 18%. So even though the averages are low, we are higher than the statewide average. So, you know, we're making progress, which is good. Let me give you some high level definitions of how we use the term completion. Completion in this document that you have in front of you and that's attached to the agenda indicates that a student has passed an English or math transfer level course within the first year academic year of enrollment. And so persistence then is that student that was enrolled is also enrolled in the following fall term. So it's the next year. So some high level identifiers of what we identified. Transfer level English completion rates for the first year students remained higher than our math rates, which is not surprising from 2018 to 2022. There were overall increases in transfer level math rates from 2018 to 22 for first year students, but not in transfer level English. Overall, first year females tend to complete transfer level English and math at higher rates than first year males. I will get into the college specific details. I just wanted to give you some high level generic. For persistence, we look at completers, which are students that complete within the first year, math and English within the first year versus what we consider non-completers. Almost 90% of students who complete both English and math at the transfer level within their first year persist to the following fall. That's really good. Persistence rates dropped substantially for first year students who enrolled in any English and math classes, but did not complete both at the transfer level within the first year. And then persistence rates continue to drop for first year students who did not enroll in any English or math in the first year. So overall, those are common factors across all three colleges. So what are some key takeaways for Moorpark College? That graph that you see up there, the transfer level English is in blue, transfer level math is in yellow, and transfer level English and math completion is in red. So for transfer level, and we're talking completion now, not persistence, just completion. For transfer level English, completion rates remained relatively stable over the 5 years, 58.2% in 2018 and 57.4% in 2022. So we see an increase there. Transfer level English completion rates consistently exceeded transfer level math completion rates, and that's comparing the blue line and the yellow line. When we're talking about transfer level math completion rates increased significantly for all students from 30.1% in 2018 to 45.9% in 2022. That's a rise of 15.8 percentage points. We're looking at the yellow line. The increase in transfer level math completion led to narrowing the gap between transfer level English and math completion. So there was a 28 percentage point difference in 2018. Now it's dropped down to 11.5% difference in 2022. That's a great gain. The substantial increase in math completion resulted in 38.5% of first-time students completing both math and English at the transfer level in 2022, which is up 25% from 2018. So Moorpark's doing great. Transfer level English and math completion, the percentage of first-time students completing both English and math at the transfer level increased substantially from 25.1 in 2018 to 38.5 in 2022. That's the red line. Females did complete at a higher rate than males, and white students completed at a higher rate than Hispanic students. And in attachment, there's appendix with several charts that you can drill down into if you'd like.
How long a presentation do you have? Or would you want questions during the presentation?
It's whatever your pleasure.
If it's a clarifying question, sure, go ahead.
I was wondering, I know completion rates is anything from a C or above. Is there a way to disaggregate the data? I'm interested in knowing how many students receive C, how many students receive Bs, and how many students received As. Because if we're having students that are receiving a high number of Cs, completion rates are high, but nevertheless, they're a grade away from a B or a D. And so as they're competing, as they're going to the universities, I'm curious just to see what it looks like. So I know I have completion rates information that I'm looking at, but is there a way, I don't know if it's a Tableau, if there's a way to look at the grades. I know back in maybe 2019, I want to say, I know it was when the faculty presented in person, we were able to see the grades and we were able to see how many A's, B's, C's, and D's, and we were able to disaggregate the data. And I remember, I think it was online and I can manipulate the data and be able to see it. Is that something that's still available?
What we can do, our next report is going to be on retention, persistence, and enrollment. And if you'd like us to disaggregate it in that report, we can disaggregate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Oxnard College. Key takeaways. Again, transfer level English is in blue, transfer level math is in yellow, and transfer level English and math is in red. For transfer level English completion rates for transfer level English dropped from 44% in 2018 to 37% in 2022. But it's on the upward trend when compared to 2021. So I believe that COVID really impacted our student success in this area, but we do see that they're back on the increase. Transfer level English completion rates consistently exceeded transfer level math completion rates, which is similar to Moorpark. And females consistently completed transfer level English at higher rates than males, similar to Moorpark. Transfer level math completion rates for all first-time students increased from 22% in 2018 to 26% in 2022. So they're on the rise. That's the yellow line. Females consistently completed transfer level math at higher rates than males, and completion rates for females increased 5 percentage points from 2018 to 2022. And that comes from the disaggregated information in your charts in the appendix. Now, transfer level English and math completion. Transfer level English and math completion rate indicates a slight increase from 2018 at 19.6% to 2022, 20.6%. So they're on the rise, and females consistently completed at a higher rate than males over the 5-year time frame. And that's not surprising. You've heard a lot of discussion from the colleges and the various outreach and student success programs they have for men of color and men in general, males in general. So we'll talk about that later. Any questions for Oxnard?
Just an observation. I mean, I think it's fascinating that while the English scores went down, and they're not necessarily correlated, but the fact that the math scores went up in that same period, I find I'm searching for a different answer than COVID, because I think that I would think that they would both be affected equally. But so I don't know. Maybe there's some other rationale there. Maybe there's some other reason. So just an observation and a thought.
Thank you.
And I'm glad they're obviously on the uptrend, but I'm not sure that COVID would affect the English performance and not the math performance if it was COVID. If it was the COVID shutdown. It just leads me to that. Maybe call it an assumption.
Okay.
And just as I'm looking at this from 18. Go ahead and make a comment if it's on that last point.
It's not just COVID, but it's also delivery method that I think impacted. So let's not forget that I think our services were also impacted by COVID. So our writing and reading center that had an impact on our students support with their essays. The library, we only had online services. Classes switched from in-person to online for both. So this is also, I think that this is also correlated to the way that these classes were delivered during this period. And it seems as though it had more of an impact on our English students than our math students.
Yeah, and I'm really looking at it from the standpoint of maybe something happened within the math department that helped continue a positive trend, or at least not impacting the trend in as great a negative. So I'm not looking for, I'm really looking at it from a positive standpoint that maybe the math department did something really successful that kind of led to that.
Trustee Torres.
I remember when we had the presentation, I think it might have been actually February of 2020. I don't know if we have the recordings, but we did have the departments from each of the colleges come and speak, and we did hear from the math department at Oxnard College. And at that time, I believe you had Steve Hall, who was also math faculty. And I remember it was very comprehensive, some of the intentionality that they were working on. But also the English department, I know we're not seeing it here, but I know that it was mentioned in terms of the math trends going down, that we see that also in K-12. So in K-12, we are seeing our students actually performing much lower in math than we are in the English language arts. So when I was looking at some of the information on the different colleges, particularly for Oxnard, I wasn't surprised because that is actually what we are seeing with our students performing actually lower in math and trying to work with our students and teaching. What can we do in that teaching and learning component? And I was very impressed as I was reading the report that there you have math faculty from the 3 colleges coming together to explore it and to talk about it. Like you're going into equity. When I was reading this report and I saw that you have community of practices within the colleges that are discussing instruction, assessment, learning, pedagogy. I mean, how are we going to address that? It really, I had tears in my eyes because when we talk about justice and equity, this is it. And this is what it looks for us. So when we talk about the words, this is it, inclusion, this is it, and instruction and supports. And so as I was reading the comprehensive work that's being done, and particularly the colleges coming together, when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, like faculty's coming together from the strength and how do we solve this, particularly in academia, when we do inquiries. The whole purpose of our budget, the whole purpose of our policies, the whole purpose of us coming together, strategic goals, is to do this work and to support what you're doing. So as I read this report, this is the answer. This is our bread and butter, if you will, of who we are and the business that we are. We're in the business of education, helping our students improve. And I am very excited about the work that's being done as I was reading here from everybody here present and the services from the counseling department, also meeting with the students and looking into what the courses do you need, what kind of supports from the co-curricular courses that students can take to receive. There's so much work, and I know that I'm speaking a little bit more, but I won't use it at the end of the day. Know that that's noted. That's a lot of work at the colleges and planning and scheduling, everyone coming together. How is it going to look like? And so as I'm reading this, I just have to say thank you really for everything that you do for our students. And as we're seeing more graduation rates, as we're seeing more of our students improving, I'm looking forward to it. And especially, and the reason I was asking about the grades is because we're preparing them for universities. Now we know that I couldn't go to Berkeley with a C. Like I needed to have those A's, and I worked really hard. My professor, I had to go to Guthrie Hall and Ventura College and get that support, but I was ready to defend myself in reading analytically, being able to evaluate, analyze, speak, debate, because I was transferring as a junior to Berkeley and I was competing with upper division courses and I had to be prepared. So I'm very happy of the education I received within our colleges, and I'm an example and being here at this table of what the colleges can do. And not only that, but also the self-esteem through the counseling, through financial aid, giving me a phone call. Hey, you haven't come in to pick up your check. Oh my God, I have a check. And so this report is so comprehensive. It covers everything. So I just wanted to make sure that I mention the amazing work and the intentionality of how you're taking legislative work, but to the next level, because legislation doesn't explain it. It just says, this is what you got to do. Go figure it out. But the essence of equity and inclusion, oh my God, it's like right here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to everyone presenting at some type of a statewide level work, because this doesn't happen. People talk the talk, but then it's like, show me in the work. tell me about it. And when I read this report, you're doing it. So thank you for that.
Okay. Wanna
Thank you.
Continue.
Sure. Onward to Ventura College. Transfer level English in blue, transfer level math in yellow, and transfer level English and math is in red. So transfer level English completion. Transfer level English completion for all students increased from 49.6% in 2018 to 49.9% in 2022. Transfer level English completion rates consistently exceeded transfer level math completion rates across our district. Females and white students completed English at the transfer level at a higher rate than males and Hispanic students. And the gender gap for transfer level English completion decreased from 12.6 percentage points in 2018 to 8.5 percentage points in 2022. So that's good. We closed the gap. We're closing the gap between male and female. For transfer level math completion for all students increased from 24.9% in 2018 to 32.7% in 2022. Again, the yellow line. In 2018, the transfer level math completion rates for females was 6.7 percentage points higher than for males, but that gap decreased to only 0.7 percentage points in 2020 and has remained minimal. So that's closing the gap. It's really good. For transfer level English and math, the percentage of first-time students completing both English and math at the transfer level increased substantially from 25.1% in 2018 to 38.5% in 2022, the red line. Females completed at a higher rate than males, which is consistent over the 5 years and across the district. And white and Asian students completed at a slightly higher rate than Hispanic students over the 5 years. You're seeing a lot of similarities across the colleges, but for the most part, we're also seeing great progress. Okay, so now we're talking persistence. Again, persistence indicates that the student enrolled in the following fall term after their first academic year. And we broke it down into completers and non-completers. So a completer is a completer that completed transfer level math and transfer level English and persisted into the next year. This is at Moore Park. Almost all 90% of first-time students who completed both English and math at the transfer level persisted to the following term. While the rate of persistence remained stable over the 5 years, there was an increase in the number of students persisting to the following fall term from 657 students in 2018 to 1,015 students in 2022. So not also are we seeing consistent persistence, but we're seeing an increase in the throughput of students going through the process. Now, non-completers are students who did not complete transfer level math and English within the first year, who persisted, okay? Only 60%, and so we're talking about students who enrolled in any English and math course in the first year. Only 60% of first-year students who enrolled in English and math classes at any level, but did not complete at the transfer level, persisted to the following term, fall term. And then we're looking at students who did not enroll in any English and math courses in the first year. Persistence rates for students who did not enroll in any English and math courses dropped from 37.7% in 2018 to 34.2% in 2022. That's a good thing. We want it to drop. Oops, wait, wrong. That's wrong. We want it to increase. We don't want it to drop. Persistent rates for first-time students who did not enroll in any English and math courses dropped for both female and male students from 2018 to 22 compared to males and white students. So we can see that students that complete within the first year are a much higher persistence rates than those that don't. Similar takeaways for Oxnard College. Again, sorting out completers versus non-completers. So for completers, almost all, about 90% of the first-time students who completed both English and math at the transfer level persisted to the following fall term. Persistence remained stable over the 5 years, and there was no significant persistent gaps noted over the 5-year period among female and male students. So we're doing good there. Non-completers are students who did not complete transfer level English and math within the first year, but who persisted. Students who enrolled in any English and math class in the first year, persistence rates for the first year students enrolled in any English and math classes, but did not complete both at the transfer level increased from 51.2% in 2018 to 56.0% in 2022. So persistence rates went up. In 2020, for students who did not enroll in any English and math courses in the 5 years, 43% in 2022 at first-time students who did not enroll in any English and math classes persisted to the fall term of 2023, an increase of 3 previous years and similar to the 42.4% persistence rate in 2018. So again, same trends. If you complete math and English in the first year, 90% persistence rate. Ventura College, similar takeaways. Completers, again, almost 90% of the first-time students who completed both math and English. We're being really consistent here, 90%. Persisted to the following fall term. Persistence remained stable over the 5 years, and no significant persistence gaps were noted over the 5-year period among female and male students. So that's good. For non-completers, so students who enrolled in any math and any English, overall drop in persistent rates for students who enrolled in any English and math classes but did not complete both at the transfer level from a 59.3% in 2018 to a 53.2% in 2022. And in 2018, 59% of both women and men persisted. In 2022, 64% of women and only 41% of men persisted. So there's a gender gap of 23 percentage points. And for students who did not enroll in any English and math courses, persistence rates for students in those areas dropped from 35.6% in 2018 to 31.2% in 2022.
Chair Perez.
Trustee Lichtel.
I wonder if I could, I'm trying to create a clearer distinction, and it's evident, obviously, between the students who enrolled in any English and math course in the first year and those that did not. And so I'm wondering, should we assume that the students who enrolled in any English and math course and either did not complete those courses and therefore didn't persist at the higher rate, that 90%, that 90% number is amazing, startling, right? Should we assume that those students either were not successful in one or both of those courses, or can it also be that they did not enroll in a transferable English and math course? And is there a way to create a distinction between one and the other? Because those are distinct. Don't expect an answer tonight, but it's just kind of something that I've been kind of ruminating on. And then the last column is probably the most troubling, because these are students who, it seems, either didn't have the wherewithal, the confidence, or the guidance to enroll in a math and an English course at the transferable level. And so I would say, I would think that, and maybe this is a Captain Obvious moment, right? That our effort would go into identifying those students that are not enrolled or not successful in that first semester. So like right now, and making sure that those students are re-enrolling in a similar transferable course in that subject area, either in the spring or in the summer. So when you look at the data that 90% of the students who are successful in these courses persist, it's absolutely vital that those students that are not successful in the first semester, second semester be identified and have the opportunity to remediate immediately before and I assume their summer of their first year. In other words, a student that started this fall, that next summer still counts as part of that
Correct.
first year. So we have right now, until we go to a compressed calendar, if I have that right, we have 3 tries at this, right? And then maybe we'll have 4, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think from the standpoint of identifying those students, reaching out to those students and making sure that they understand the importance of enrolling, not just from the standpoint of being able to transfer, but from this whole concept of persistence. And, this is what's going to make you successful as a student, completing these courses in that first year. That's going to set you up for success.
Your point is very well taken. And again, that's why we invested in the Civitas software platform.
Right.
Because now we can disaggregate students and we can identify through predictive analytics, high risk, low risk, moderate risk. And we can personally contact those individuals that are high risk. And we could prioritize our outreach program. So I think as we become more, I'm going to use the term sophisticated, as our software platforms become more enhanced and our ability to use technology increases, I think we're moving in the right direction.
So I know there was a time way back when I enrolled in the community college, 1980, that there was actually a placement exams that were provided. I
Yeah.
know that's no longer.
That's what
the
705 took
practice.
away. Yeah.
Right. And I understand that's not the practice, but I have to believe that the math department at West Los Angeles College, which I attended, like I said, again, in the fall of 1980, they knew my profile based on that placement exam. So I'm just wondering, how does our current staff at our 3 colleges, how do they know the students that are coming in and what their, not level, but what their needs might be, what their proficiency level is, so that we can address maybe some gaps. But more importantly, I've always felt it's not a matter of addressing gaps as much as it is growing confidence in students to move forward and push themselves forward, because I think you set that bar high. Students typically, a lot of times they do reach up to that level. So it's complex. And again, I don't expect an answer on that immediately, obviously. Maybe it's just more of a discussion, but I sympathize with the efforts that our colleges have to make, because it seems like as the students are coming in, they have less information than they had previously. So sometimes, though these laws are well-intentioned, there's negative consequences, such as not really knowing who our students are if we can't provide some kind of a placement exam. And I know it's more complicated than that, but just some thoughts that I've had since the past meeting on this topic. So thank you.
Trustee Torres.
Of the multiple or the multi-measures data points that you look at, which is the student's high school transcript. You look at, you might take some feedback from the high schools, and there's different areas that you look at to get to know the student. For those students, and I say this because I used to, do a lot of work with them and motivate them and inspire them. And they're there, but then sometimes once they get to the class, if they don't have the skills to be able to be successful, then they struggle. Then it goes back to their motivation coming down because they didn't succeed. And we see that in our schools. They want to do it, but sometimes if they haven't been taught the content, because sometimes they haven't had an exposure to the content. And so it's not so much that they can't do it, they just don't have the vocabulary. I know for myself, if I didn't have exposure to academic content at the level that the university expects it, it's not that I can't do it, it's just I was never exposed to it. So when our students get enrolled in a transfer level course, that's your top level course, you're able to go transfer to the university. And there's some students who may be at the high school, now they're all college prep, but being at the high school level, they're always not very much prepared necessarily for some students. And I know we have these co-curricular courses, if I'm remembering the name correctly, to support them while they're in the transfer level course, but I noticed that, I don't want to call it remedial courses because it's a different name, were eliminated in some of the colleges. So there's no more remedial courses. So it's the transfer level course you're taking, and there might be a support course. And I'm interested in knowing, just what do we do? Because some students, one is to motivate them to come to the community college, because many times they don't even see themselves. Once they come here, we know that we're going to get college students at different levels. And I was talking with Dan, we're the only place that says no. That says, yes, you can come to our colleges. We will not say no. We were saying the UCs, Cal States, they get to choose. What's your transcript? What's your grades? All right, you're ready. Come on. For us, the challenge and invitation is we're going to get students at different levels with different exposures and content. And so how do we tailor to them? That's the equity piece. And so how do we ensure that completion rates and persistence rates of our students that they're competitive? And so what do we have in place? that's one of the things that I'm interested in knowing more, and maybe down the road, faculty or the different colleges will be able to share a little bit more about some of the discussions, some of the things they're doing, because they're seeing the students themselves. And I know that for ourselves, those are conversations we're having at the K-12 level. And when we go to the community college, I know I've had a couple of friends share concerns about, how are you addressing it, Gabby? Because you see how they're doing here. I'm concerned that they're replacing them in these courses. Are they going to be successful? Are they going to, for example, the ones that don't succeed, do they come back? Like, I'm curious what happens to the students that get an F. Do they stay with us? What happens to them? So I'm interested in getting the picture. The data is giving me some entry points, but of where they are at different places. And then the ones that did not complete it, what happened to those students? Where are they now? Following their story as well, as so we get better, and maybe there's some information there. I know we have the National Clearinghouse to get to see where the ones that are succeeding, where are they going, what schools, but also the ones that are not, and the reasons as to why they're not succeeding. Do we have a survey? Maybe the teachers have, maybe the professors ask. I know when I was in college, they give us this evaluation to fill out a midpoint during the class, and it would help, I think, the professors know like where we were, so they were able to tailor their instruction perhaps into where students were. So I'm curious to see like what structures do we have to assess where students are at? So where I come from in K-12, we're constantly assessing. So in instruction, we're assessing students before the grade to tailor instruction or to tailor what we need to do. For us, I heard that we look at data from fall to fall. That's like a whole year. And so I'm thinking, is there entry points that we can see how are students completing so we can intervene with supports? Because I know for myself as a board member, I'm ready to support a budget if we need to go into instruction, if we need to go into whatever that looks like to get our students to be successful. That's my conversation about a budget. And when we're looking at different funds, we have funds for, capital. Can we have for this? We have for this area. If our students are not being successful, we're seeing the celebrations of the ones that are. But for the ones that are not, I'd like to be able to use funds to support our students. And when we make decisions on unrestricted funds for us, and they're working into our reserves, that's my interest. And so I just wanted to point that out to hopefully we'll get some of that information if it's not here. And I know I'm going to be in the PAS committee, so I'm very much looking forward to doing some of this work, right? PAS committee? Because Josh and I are trading. In the PAC committee to do some of this work, and because this is something I'm really looking forward to. So I know that, Michelle, you're taking some notes because I don't want these points to be missed. Thank you.
Dr. Herrera.
Okay, so to your point, there was a question on dual enrollment and how many of our high school students that are dually enrolled actually complete either transfer level math, transfer level English, or transfer level math and English while they're in high school. And you can see that the transfer level English, which is in blue, in 2018 was at 10%, and in 2022 is now 26%. And we do see a decrease in transfer level math, which is the yellow line, from 21%. It went up all the way up to 33% in 2021, and then back down to 27% success. Although the difference between 2018 and 2022, we are increasing the number of students that were dually enrolling. So we had about 1639 in 2018, and we now have 2,113 in 2022. So we're seeing steady increase. I anticipate with our new system that we're creating across the district, this will continue to rise and go up.
I have a quick question. Will the data also show the number of students that are withdrawing from the courses?
I don't have that data with me tonight.
Oh, no, that's fine. I just want to know
Okay.
if it would
High
it be
school
included?
students? High
All
schools?
students.
I don't have that information with me tonight, but I can get that information if you want.
Thank you.
They're being recorded, and Michelle is capturing all this too.
Any clarifications wanted on dual enrollment?
No.
Okay, so now this, in your packet, you have, all of the activities and the initiatives that each of the colleges have, put forward, to really make an impact and, increase student success in these areas. And, I can go through each one of them if you want, but, highlighted, I think, at Moore Park College, the course embedded tutors using two-way texting has shown phenomenal results. They do have the community of practice, learning communities. Again, the two-way texting to improve enrollment rates in English and math. Is the campus sense of belonging that they're creating and making tests shorter or test periods longer in order to give students more time to answer each question. And they have a math inter-college community of practice. Those are just highlights. There's a lot more activity behind that that's in the report that you can read. But you can see that there's strong dedication at each of the college, at Moore Park College, to do this. And I'll go over some of the upcoming initiatives that Moore Park College is doing after I go through all three. So for Oxnard College, they've broken it out. So they're looking at the English department, the math department, counseling department, and the college. So those are the entities that are approaching trying to improve success for students. In English, they updated course student learning outcomes. They deactivated below transfer courses. They increased the number of support courses. They increased the lending library and all the materials for gateway courses. They're developing new support courses and they've embedded tutors in the classes. In the math department, again, they deactivated the below transfer courses, developed and offered new transfer level courses, developed and offered new support courses, additional math courses, revised prerequisites to align with AB 1705. And they have plans for the development of support courses for higher level math courses and embedded tutors in classes.
Trustee Torres has a question.
Is Oxnard College thinking of maybe putting into practice the community of practice model? Also to have faculty come together and talk?
Yes, actually, some of our math faculty will be joining the Ventura College math faculty in a community of practice together, and then also developing our own community of practice amongst our